Welcome back to the deep dive. Our mission here is to take complex documents and turn them into actionable knowledge for you, the listener.
That's right.
Last time, we explored the critical reasons why residents might object to the Derry Downs housing proposal, the harm to the Greenbelt, the worry about traffic congestion, and, the low public transport access.
It was a really essential look at the serious hurdles, the big red flags facing this development.
It really was.
Today, we flipped that script entirely.
We do.
And not to endorse the development, I want to be clear on that, but to construct the strongest, most credible rationale for supporting it, using only the exact same source material.
Right. So for residents who are maybe on the fence, neutral, or undecided?
Exactly. Our task is to analyze the proposed benefits and identify how a coherent, policy-compliant case for acceptance can actually be made. This is about building the necessary policy arguments that could, potentially outweigh the acknowledged challenges, like the Greenbelt designation.
That's right. When planning applications reach this stage, it often comes down to a balancing act, doesn't it? Weighing significant harm against significant public benefit.
It's all about that balance.
So we are essentially taking the applicant's core arguments, addressing the housing crisis, pioneering sustainable design, and improving local infrastructure, and seeing if they possess enough statutory weight to secure approval.
We need to understand exactly what criteria must be met for these arguments to really stand up.
Okay, let's unpack this and start with, I think, the most fundamental benefit: housing supply.
The supportive case rests entirely on the overwhelming, demonstrable need for housing, especially affordable housing, in the London borough of Bromley.
And without that foundation?
Without this foundation, none of the other benefits matter. I mean, this isn't just a local political assertion. It's a matter of statutory noncompliance.
And the sources provide the hard numbers we need to anchor this argument. Bromley has a strategic housing target of 7,740 homes for the 2019-20 to 2028-29 period, dictated by the London Plan. This proposal, offering up to 350 homes, immediately provides a significant contribution toward meeting that number, especially given the council's current shortfall.
And that shortfall is the critical pivot point. The National Planning Policy Framework, or the NPPF, it provides the legal framework for prioritizing housing delivery when a council is struggling.
So the core argument for support leverages NPPF paragraph 155, which demands evidence of a demonstrable unmet need for the type of development proposed.
Exactly.
What exactly does that phrase, demonstrable unmet need, mean in the practical world of planning policy? It sounds like dry legalese, but it carries immense weight, doesn't it?
It carries statutory top-down weight. Footnote 56 of the NPPF clarifies this for housing applications in, painful detail. It states that an authority is deemed to have a demonstrable unmet need if it either lacks a 5-year supply of deliverable sites.
Meaning they can't prove they have enough approved land ready to build on for the next 5 years?
Correct. Or if its housing delivery test performance was below 75% of the housing requirement over the preceding 3 years.
And the source material confirms the council is currently unable to demonstrate a 5-year housing land supply position.
It does.
So, because Bromley is failing to meet this required housing land supply target, this single fact immediately catapults the Derry Downs proposal from being merely a local application into one of national strategic importance.
That's it. It forces decision makers, including the planning inspectorate, to view the application with a specific statutory lens that favors approval.
It's a huge shift in perspective.
Precisely. The moment the 5-year supply deficit is confirmed, the presumption shifts towards sustainable development, even when facing significant hurdles like the Greenbelt. It gives the argument for development a crucial strategic advantage.
But volume alone is not enough, right? The type of housing is where the case becomes
Almost unassailable under policy, yes.
Here's where the sources introduce the golden rules. The commitment to affordability is what sets this proposal apart from many others across London.
Absolutely. The scheme proposes a 50% affordable housing provision. This is a massive number in the context of the London Plan.
50% is huge.
Policy H5 sets the strategic target for new developments across the capital, and this proposal is bang in line with that high expectation. Crucially, this commitment meets the strict criteria outlined in the NPPF's Golden Rules in paragraph 156.
And the regulatory language around the Golden Rules is intentionally powerful to accelerate affordable housing delivery.
It is, and you can see the applicant is actively leveraging this strong language. NTPF paragraph 158 explicitly states that a development which complies with these golden rules, high delivery, viability proven, and so on, is a matter that should be given significant weight in favor of the grant of planning permission.
That's not a suggestion.
No, that is a directive to prioritize this aspect of the application. It's a policy expectation that this benefit holds significant power in the planning balance.
And there's an indication in the sources that the applicant might even exceed that statutory requirement for maximum public benefit.
That's a fascinating detail, isn't it? GLA officers, in their assessment, didn't just accept the 50% figure, they actually encouraged the applicant to deliver a minimum of 60% of those affordable dwellings as low-cost social rented homes.
And social rented housing is the most acutely needed type.
It's the most needed, often carrying the highest level of subsidy and providing accommodation for the most vulnerable. If the applicant delivers that enhanced 60% figure well above the typical baseline, it represents a profoundly significant public benefit that could further tip the scales towards acceptance.
So we have a strategically needed volume of homes and an unparalleled quantity of affordable housing that demands significant weight. But we cannot ignore the Greenbelt designation. This is the immovable object. How does the supportive case address that policy hurdle effectively?
This is where the nuanced gray belt argument is deployed. The supportive case argues that while the land is designated Greenbelt, its current use and surroundings mean that building here would not fundamentally undermine the Greenbelt's purposes, the very definition of what is sometimes informally called gray belt land.
The sources, however, noted that Bromley Council officers disagreed on the impact, specifically regarding Purpose A checking unrestricted sprawl.
They did.
If the council says it will cause sprawl, how does the applicant argue it won't?
Well, they argue that the site's characteristics already diminish its contribution to preventing sprawl. The sources note the land is perceived as arable farmland nestled into the built edge of Orpington and St. Mary Cray,
Okay.
and that the close proximity and wide extent of the existing townscape around the edges of the site already have a significant urbanizing influence.
So the argument is, this particular piece of Greenbelt is already heavily contained and surrounded by existing urban development. Its purpose in acting as a clear boundary is already compromised, making it a less valuable piece of Greenbelt than a truly isolated or pristine area.
That's the core of it. If the Greenbelt is already suffering from an urbanizing influence, developing the land responsibly and sensitively, as proposed, is less harmful than developing a truly intact buffer zone.
And that distinction.
That distinction allows the GLA officers to acknowledge the potential for the site to meet the gray belt definition, subject to appropriate justification. This sets the stage for the benefits, the homes, the school, the flood mitigation, to then qualify as the necessary, very special circumstances required to outweigh the residual harm to the Greenbelt.
Let's weave in the social context now. The site's location within the Cray Valley Renewal Area adds another layer of policy support, connecting the housing benefit directly to social need.
It does, and this is a potent part of the very special circumstances argument. The source material highlights that the site is located within an area ranked in the top 20% most deprived in England, according to the indices of multiple deprivation.
Top 20%?
Yes. So when you are addressing a critical need housing, community facilities, investment in one of the most deprived areas, the public benefit is magnified.
And the designation of the area as the Cray Valley Renewal Area by Bromley Local Plan Policy 17 formalizes this need for regeneration and investment.
It underscores that this location is already identified in strategic policy as a priority area for social uplift. This reinforces the argument that the development provides targeted social benefits precisely where they are needed most, significantly strengthening the case that the proposal brings benefits that simply cannot be replicated elsewhere in a less constrained location.
Finally, for this section, let's address the density compromise. The GLA pushed for a much higher density, 80 to 120 dwellings per hectare, DPH, to maximize the site's capacity, but the applicant settled on a much lower average of 39 DPH. Why is this moderate density a point in favor of the supportive case, rather than a failure to maximize housing?
This is where the argument shifts from maximum output to quality output. The supportive case argues that this is a considered design-led approach, aligning with Policy D3 of the London Plan, which prioritizes good design.
So it's about quality over quantity, in a sense.
In a sense, yes. Bromley officers explicitly rejected the high-density push, stating that 80-120 DPH would result in a significant step change in scale and character.
So the moderate density of 39 dph is framed as a benefit because it respects the context of the suburban fringe setting, preventing the development from becoming an overwhelming urban intrusion.
Exactly.
It demonstrates a commitment to integration over maximization.
That's the key distinction. It's a design-led compromise. By choosing 39 dph, the applicant demonstrates that they have listened to the contextual sensitivity of the location. They achieve substantial housing delivery while preventing the scale and massing that would inevitably trigger even stronger local objections regarding visual impact, character change, and potentially greater harm to the remaining greenbelt. This approach makes the long-term integration of the scheme more palatable and sustainable for the existing community.
So in this section, we've established the foundation. The need for housing and affordability provides the significant weight required by national policy, and the location's social context and gray belt characteristics provide the potential for very special circumstances.
That are required to start overriding the greenbelt hurdle.
Okay, now let's move to the practical challenges of making this location work.
Moving from policy weight to physical delivery, we have to address the single largest practical hurdle identified in the sources: the site's challenging public transport accessibility level, or PTL,
ETL, right.
which is rated as 1A.
And for context, 6B is the best possible rating.
Exactly. So 1A is a very low accessibility score, which typically signals high car dependency.
So building a supportive case requires arguing that this development isn't just adding cars to an inaccessible area, but that it is fundamentally committed to transforming the location into a sustainable travel hub through investment.
That's the only way to frame it. The transport assessment is transparent about the low PTL, but the positive case centers on the ambitious commitment to achieve a total sustainable mode share walking, cycling, and public transport of 78% for all new residents.
78%.
That is the number that counters the baseline car dependency.
That 78% figure is staggering when you consider the baseline environment. What makes that number so significant from a policy perspective?
It's significant because it demonstrates compliance with and ambition beyond strategic London policy. The mayor's transport strategy sets a target of 75% sustainable mode share for outer London boroughs.
Okay.
The target for the whole of London is 80%. So by setting a target of 78%, the applicant is committing to a strategic goal that significantly exceeds the minimum expectation for outer London.
And a 78% sustainable mode share commitment, if realized, directly counters the most frequent objection to out-of-town developments. Generating traffic and reliance on private cars.
Correct.
It allows the supportive argument to claim the development is future-proofing its travel habits.
It does. It means the development must be viewed not through the lens of its current PTL of 1A, but through the lens of its target travel behavior, that 78% sustainable modes.
And that commitment is legally binding.
Tied to legal obligations, yes, which provides the evidence needed to claim compliance with policies promoting sustainable travel infrastructure, like London Plan Policy T4.
Okay, so let's delve into the specific mechanisms proposed to achieve this dramatic mode shift. It requires serious infrastructure commitment, starting with the mandated travel plan targets.
The travel plan is the behavioral contract that accompanies the infrastructure. It is not a passive document. It sets specific, measurable, and enforceable targets aimed at shifting behavior away from the car.
And the application includes one targeting a 10% increase in active travel among new residents.
That's right, and it specifically details the expected reduction in vehicle movements.
What are those tangible reduction figures? How do they impact peak traffic times?
The plan calculates that the increase in active travel translates to an additional 123 two-way trips in the morning peak and 102 in the evening peak being made via walking or cycling rather than by car.
And these are enforceable numbers.
These commitments are tied to Section 106 legal agreements, meaning the applicant has a financial and monitoring obligation to ensure these behavioral shifts are being realized and maintained over time. That accountability adds considerable weight to the 78% target.
Supporting that behavioral change is the physical infrastructure, primarily the planned central mobility hub. Tell us more about what this hub means for car dependency.
The mobility hub is designed to decouple housing access from private car ownership. It's a central point for shared and public transport options. It features integrated bus stops, secure cycle hire facilities, and crucially dedicated car club provision.
And we know from the sources that this is a concrete plan, not just a promise.
Not at all.
Because a specific provider is already involved.
That's right. Enterprise Car Club has submitted a proposal to serve the site. The importance of car clubs cannot be overstated in an area of low PTL.
Why is that?
They provide access to a car for occasional necessary trips, like a major grocery haul or a necessary medical appointment, without the immense overhead and parking requirements of private car ownership.
So you don't need to own a car to use one.
Exactly. By providing shared access, car clubs typically result in a net reduction of private vehicles across a development, directly challenging the embedded car-dependent behavior of the surrounding area. And on top of that, the development commits to electric vehicle charging, so even the small percentage of private vehicles that remain will be future-proofed.
Let's discuss the single biggest factor affecting the PTL rating: buses. Improving the PTL score requires significant public transport enhancements, which usually rely on London Transport, on TfL, cooperating.
Indeed, TfL operates on commercial viability models, so getting a bus route diverted or extended is always a hurdle.
A big hurdle.
A very big hurdle. However, the applicant has proactively engaged with TfL, exploring three viable options: rerouting the existing R4 service, rerouting the B14 service, or extending the 353 service directly into the site.
The fact that three options were even discussed implies TfL sees potential viability once the passenger density is confirmed.
It does. While the realization of a diverted route is subject to TfL assessment, the commitment by the applicant to fund these works and engage in strategic planning shows a seriousness that elevates the proposal. It means the development is willing to pay the costs to improve the local network.
And we shouldn't forget the baseline.
We shouldn't. The transport assessment confirms the entire site is already accessible to existing bus stops within 400 meters, which meets the standard planning accessibility thresholds. The proposed changes would simply enhance this basic access dramatically and increase the effective PTL rating.
Moving beyond motorized transport, let's talk about the healthy streets concept. The plan includes substantial investment in pedestrian and cycle infrastructure. This addresses local concerns about walkability and connecting to amenities.
This is key to realizing that 78% target. The supportive case highlights the comprehensive commitment to improving the local public realm. A full active travel zone assessment and ATZ assessment was conducted, which is a rigorous audit covering day and night conditions, to identify routes to key amenities.
This goes beyond simple connectivity then. It measures the quality of the connection.
Absolutely.
So what were the destinations covered by this ATZ assessment, and what specific infrastructure changes came out of it?
The assessment covered routes to St. Mary Cray Rail Station, which is about 1,900 meters away, and local primary schools, which are within a kilometer. The audit identified specific improvements needed along these corridors, such as enhanced lighting for nighttime safety, the addition of tactile paving at crossing points, and footway widening along key routes to accommodate both pedestrians and cyclists comfortably.
So it's about turning a functional route into an enjoyable and safe route.
Which encourages behavior change. Precisely. It supports TfL's Healthy Streets principles, ensuring the new development improves connectivity not just for its residents, but also for existing neighbors accessing the rail station or local shops.
And what about the existing public rights of way?
The retention and enhancement of the existing public rights of way FP 179 and FP 180 across the site are welcomed. They're being improved to ensure permeability, making the land genuinely accessible for recreational and commuting walkers and cyclists, designed to clearly welcome public access rather than discourage it.
Let's turn to safety on the roads. The introduction of new vehicle movements is an unavoidable concern. How does the supportive argument mitigate potential dangers?
The supportive case argues that the development will in fact improve existing road safety. The transport assessment proposes specific traffic calming measures along the approach roads, Crockenhill Road and Cockmannings Road.
Give us the technical details of those measures. What are gateway features and dragon's teeth markings?
Gateway features are physical design elements, often narrowed sections or raised tables at the entrance of the residential area, explicitly signaling a transition from a main thoroughfare to a neighborhood zone. They are paired with clear 30 mph speed limit signs.
And dragon's teeth.
The dragon's teeth are highly visible, triangular road markings designed to create a visual road narrowing effect. They kind of trick the driver's eye into believing the road is tighter than it is, thereby subconsciously forcing them to reduce speed.
Oh, okay.
These are all established techniques aimed at enhancing safety, particularly for on-road cycling, in line with Bromley Local Plan Policy 32 on road safety. This is demonstrable, measurable investment in safety.
Finally, despite the skepticism about car dependency, what does the official traffic modeling say about overall congestion? Does the plan pass the highway network test?
It does. And this is a robust point for the supportive case. The transport assessment concludes that due to the committed sustainable mode share, the new development would not have a material impact on the operation of the local highway network.
So the modeling backs that up.
Traffic modeling was conducted for major local junctions. The analysis, modeled for the future 2031 scenario, showed minimal residual impacts on critical local junctions, like A224 Leeson's Hill Station Road and Court Road Lower Road High Street.
Any exceptions?
The only junction identified as operating over capacity was Junction 3, but the overall conclusion of minimal material impact is what matters under planning law.
Okay.
And they also address the fear of overcrowding on public transport, confirming that impact analysis shows peak bus occupancy projected at only 42%, even with a 10% uplift in bus journeys from the travel plan.
So Section 2 demonstrates that the application includes a serious, multifaceted strategy infrastructure, behavioral commitment, and physical road safety measures, all designed to overcome that low PTL rating.
Right, and to transform the fight into a genuinely sustainable, highly connected neighborhood. The argument is that this investment in connectivity is itself a VSC, a substantial public benefit that improves conditions for both new and existing residents.
Now we move to the environmental quality and longevity of the proposal. If the first two sections covered strategy and infrastructure, this section highlights the development's commitment to cutting-edge sustainability standards, aligning with the highest expectations of modern London planning.
This commitment demonstrates that this is not a short-term build-and-sell development, but one designed for decades of resilience and efficiency. We start with the highly detailed commitment to the circular economy.
And this goes far beyond just installing solar panels.
Oh, far beyond.
Explain the circular economy in this context. What does London Plan Policy SI7 demand, and how does this proposal meet it?
Well, the circular economy is about designing out waste and pollution, keeping products and materials in use, and regenerating natural systems. London Plan Policy SI7 mandates a structured commitment to this. And this proposal doesn't just state intent, it embeds these principles structurally, ensuring that resources are maximized throughout the building's life cycle.
One of the core principles mentioned is building in layers. How does that translate into the physical design of the homes?
This is a really sophisticated concept of adaptability. It means designing the building where different components have different expected lifespans and can be accessed and replaced independently.
Okay, give me an example.
For instance, the furniture and interior contents are expected to last maybe 3 to 5 years. The services infrastructure, plumbing, wiring, ventilation systems might last 7 to 30 years. But the primary structure or frame is designed to last 30 to 120 years.
That sounds extremely practical. It ensures that when, say, the ventilation system needs upgrading due to new technology 20 years from now, you don't have to tear down the entire structure to access the services.
Precisely. It maximizes the overall lifespan and minimizes premature demolition. It is an inherent design element that makes the structure more adaptable, resilient, and less wasteful over a century of use. It's a strong argument for long-term sustainability that traditional construction often ignores.
What about waste during the actual construction process? How does the designing out waste principle apply?
This principle focuses on efficiency right from the site preparation phase. It mandates accurate ground investigations to minimize unnecessary excavation and maximizing the use of prefabricated or modular components built off-site.
And modular construction naturally generates less site waste?
Because processes are factory controlled.
Exactly.
While the proposal aims for efficiency, the source has still calculated 6,005 kilograms of estimated construction waste. How is that reconciled with the commitment to designing out waste?
It's reconciled through accountability and monitoring. That 6,005 kilograms is a transparent estimate, not a target. The commitment is present to continuously refine processes, implement a material reuse hierarchy on site, and monitor performance against a goal of achieving a 65% diversion target for local authority collected waste.
So the supportive case is that the systematic approach provides the framework for minimizing waste.
Yes, a framework that many standard applications lack.
So the goal is to think ahead to the point when the building reaches the end of its functional life decades from now. This leads to the end-of-life strategy. That's where the long-term environmental accountability truly shines. The design specifies selecting materials that are easily recyclable at the end of their use and supporting disassembly and adaptability.
Right.
But the most specific and I think remarkable commitment here is the provision of a disassembly manual section within the home user guides for future building owners or occupiers.
A disassembly manual, that's highly detailed. Why is that important?
It is fundamental to the circular economy It means the future resident or maintenance crew knows exactly what materials were used, where they are, and how to separate them efficiently. When the building inevitably requires extensive refurbishment or even decommissioning decades in the future, the materials can be managed following the waste hierarchy reuse, then recycling, rather than automatically sending complex mixed waste to landfill.
It's a mechanism for ensuring long-term resource efficiency.
It is.
Let's discuss green infrastructure and climate resilience, starting with biodiversity net gain, or BNG. How does the supportive case argue that this development will be a net positive for local ecology, transforming agricultural land?
The supportive case argues that current agricultural land is often ecologically impoverished compared to a designed, ecologically enhanced landscape. The proposal commits to achieving the mandatory B&G target of at least 10% for habitats, in line with national requirements.
And BNG plus 10% is not trivial. What specific enhancements are included to achieve that?
It requires the creation of new native planting, tailored landscaping, and the incorporation of specific features like bat roosting boxes, amphibian ponds, and hedgehog corridors. The development includes substantial areas dedicated to ecologically enhanced landscape, ensuring that the land, post-development, will support a greater variety and volume of local species than the current monoculture farmland does.
So it fulfills NPPF paragraph 187, demonstrating a commitment to environmental enhancement.
Yeah.
Now let's turn to a major tangible benefit for existing residents: the issue of surface water flooding. The proposal includes a direct mitigation strategy for a documented severe problem.
This is perhaps one of the most powerful, very special circumstances arguments because it resolves a pre-existing problem affecting the current community. The site, despite being in a low-risk flood zone 1, has a devastating history of surface water flooding.
Right, the sources mentioned a specific event.
The source material details a significant flooding event in 2021 where surface water ran across the field, carrying topsoil into neighboring residential areas and causing major disruption, with water depths reaching up to 900 millimeters and high flow velocity.
90 centimeters of fast-moving water is more than just an inconvenience. It's a threat to property and safety.
Absolutely.
The new development must not only ensure it doesn't exacerbate the problem, but actively mitigate this pre-existing issue.
That is the core commitment. The proposed green and blue infrastructure is designed to manage surface water runoff close to the source, aiming to achieve greenfield runoff rates, as mandated by London Plan Policy SI 13.
And this is achieved through sustainable drainage systems, or SUDs.
Yes, which include engineered features like swales, retention ponds, and drainage basins integrated into the public open space.
How do SUDs physically prevent the kind of 900 millimeter flooding we saw in 2021?
SUDs are designed to hold and slow down the water before it reaches the public drainage system or adjacent properties. By creating permeable surfaces and attenuation features, essentially temporary storage areas integrated into the landscaping, they drastically reduce the volume and velocity of runoff.
So the argument here is simple. This development provides an engineering solution that protects the existing community from a recurrent and severe flooding risk.
A risk associated with the current use of the land. This is a clear, measurable public good.
And finally, the overall public realm benefits that accompany this investment in green infrastructure.
The applicant has made notable progress in strengthening the public realm. This includes creating landscape character transitions, ensuring the development integrates visually with the remaining greenbelt edge. The design includes a large, structured green infrastructure area that incorporates substantial public open space, play areas, and general landscaping, creating high-quality, usable outdoor amenity spaces.
So this section proves that the proposal meets or exceeds environmental policy standards, offering long-term resilience through the circular economy and immediate, tangible benefits to the local area through flood mitigation and biodiversity enhancement.
For the supportive case to succeed, the development must demonstrate that it is a net positive for the existing community, not just for the new residents.
Right.
This is where the commitment to social infrastructure becomes a powerful part of the very special circumstances argument.
And the most significant piece of social infrastructure proposed is the new education facility, a two-form entry primary school.
Yes. The proposal includes a new two-form entry, 2FE, primary school. To understand its power in the planning balance, we have to look at London Plan Policy D2, which requires proportionate provision. Essentially, the developer must provide infrastructure only to mitigate the impact of the new residents they introduce.
So if they are only required to mitigate their own impact, why does this 2FE school count as a massive public benefit?
Because the applicants are actively discussing the possibility of reprovisioning or expanding the existing St. Mary Cray Primary School, which is currently only one FE, onto this new, larger site.
I see.
If the applicant delivers a 2FE school when the student generation from 350 homes only requires, say, 1 FE of capacity, which is often the case, it is deemed to potentially exceed the requirement for proportionate provision.
So providing more capacity than their own residents demand means the school is benefiting the wider area, not just the development.
Precisely. This excess capacity then directly serves the existing community's needs. We know from the wider strategic context that the adjacent Orpington ward is already a priority area for increased pressure on school places. By funding a new, modern two-form entry school, the applicant provides a clear, long-term public benefit that addresses a regional capacity shortage.
Which elevates it into a genuine, very special circumstance.
And that should be given substantial weight against the Greenbelt harm.
The plan also includes other types of social space aimed at day-to-day community needs.
That's right. The proposal includes provision for on-site community or healthcare floor space, which received a moderate benefit rating in the Planning Balance Summary. Placing these facilities directly within the development reduces the need for both new and existing residents to travel long distances for essential services.
It makes the area more self-sufficient.
And reduces localized travel demand, yes.
Alongside the school and community space, let's discuss the recreational elements, particularly the large amount of public open space proposed.
The scheme includes significant areas of on-site public open space. The planning statement notes that this provision exceeds the requirements set by both Natural England and Fields in trust standards.
So this isn't just leftover green space.
No, it's planned open space, including a common-style green space planned for the heart of the development, creating attractive, high-quality focal points for recreation and interaction.
But perhaps the most compelling social uplift argument is the direct commitment to investing in the adjacent St. Mary Cray recreation ground.
This is an existing local asset that suffers from significant social problems.
And this point is crucial because it moves the argument from mere amenity provision to active community regeneration and safety.
It does. The need for enhancements to the St. Mary Cray recreation ground is sought partly because of high existing levels of antisocial behavior there, and the applicant actually obtained specific footfall data.
This data point is one of the most surprising facts in the source material. What did the footfall data reveal about the recreation ground?
The footfall data, gathered via Yellow Sub AI, revealed a deeply concerning pattern. The highest average daily number of users occurs between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m.
Between 1 and 4 in the morning.
Yes, which strongly suggests that the facility is not being used as intended for family recreation, but rather as a secluded location for nocturnal antisocial activities.
That quantitative data fundamentally changes the public safety argument. So the new development isn't just about building homes, it's about using urban planning to remediate an existing community safety deficit.
Exactly. The proposed solution is design-led. The new residential development will be designed with principles of active surveillance from adjacent dwellings, combined with effective, modern street lighting and improved sightlines. The goal, in line with planning guidance, is to create places that are safe, inclusive, and accessible.
So by designing the new homes to overlook the recreation ground, the sheer presence of new residents and lighting acts as a natural deterrent to the antisocial behavior documented between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m.
That's the theory of eyes on the street in action. By facilitating necessary enhancements to the recreation ground through Section 106 obligations and designing the new residential area to physically overlook the vicinity, the proposal is intended to mitigate current safety concerns and restore the facility as a genuine community asset.
It's a powerful argument.
This transition from contributing to a problem to actively resolving a serious pre-existing community safety issue is perhaps one of the strongest social uplift arguments in the entire supportive case.
So, to summarize the supportive argument, we have a strategic, policy-driven imperative centered on housing need that demands significant weight.
We do.
We have a transformative infrastructure plan aimed at radically overcoming the low PTL rating and achieving a near-London average sustainable mode share.
All right.
And we have specific, measurable social and environmental investments, the new school, the flood mitigation, and the community safety uplift, that all argue for the fulfillment of the very special circumstances needed to overcome the Greenbelt hurdle.
That narrative relies on the fundamental view that the collective measurable public benefits provided are simply unobtainable under the site's current use. It's an argument that the cost of inaction, in terms of unmet housing need, continued flood risk, and persistent community safety issues outweighs the cost of responsible, sustainable development on this specific piece of greenbelt. For the undecided resident weighing this development, the supportive case hinges on three highly policy-reinforced pillars. First, the significant delivery of affordable housing in a high-need area, which is due significant weight by national policy due to compliance with the NPPF Golden Rules.
Right.
Second, the comprehensive strategy to transform a poor accessibility area, that PTL1A, into a sustainable connected neighborhood, backed by the challenging 78% sustainable mode share target and tangible infrastructure, like the mobility hub and new bus routes. And third, the long-term, future-proofing commitments to sustainable design, including circular economy principles, mandated 10% biodiversity net gain, and the critical flood mitigation measures through SUDS that directly resolve the documented pre-existing 900-millimeter surface water problem.
So the tension isn't just development versus preservation. It's whether these layered measurable benefits, new homes, sustainable transit, and improved facilities like the 2FE primary school and recreation ground enhancements constitute the significant weight or potentially the very special circumstances required to outweigh the acknowledged planning hurdles, namely the harm to the greenbelt and the high baseline car dependency.
This brings us back to the fundamental balancing act for the area's future. What stands out to you? Does the proposal's commitment to new social infrastructure, particularly the potentially excessive school capacity and the tangible mitigation of local antisocial behavior via enhanced overlooked public space, represent a greater long-term benefit for the existing community than maintaining the current agricultural use of the land? This is the core question that residents and decision-makers must resolve in determining the future of Derry Downs.